free. And if he is not free, he should not be held responsible for his actions. Predestination really means that God uses his foreknowledge of the future to decide the outcome of future events before the future events happen. Come on, preachers, I want you to eat. Somebody say with me, God. Come on, say it again. God uses his foreknowledge to decide the outcome of your trial before you have the trial. Let me illustrate. Suppose a friend of yours overheard a conversation that 3 months from now, somebody's going to break in your home and steal your jewelry. You would use that knowledge. Am I correct, somebody? To get yourself ready. First of all, you'd waste your time going to the police. They would tell you, I can't arrest nobody till they commit a crime. So you would use that knowledge to, first of all, move your jewelry. You tell your children you're not going to be home on that day. You'd make sure the house is surrounded. Even though they may perform the act, you use the knowledge of the future to arrange the outcome. This is what God does. He uses his knowledge of what you're going to go through to work out your deliverance even before you go through it. Am I telling the truth? This is the only way he can say all things will turn out for your good, is because he must know what all things are going to be. Am I right, somebody? Let me give an example. God did not cause Joseph's brothers to hate him, but he knew they would. Say it with me, somebody. God did not tell Joseph's brothers to put him in the pit, but he knew they would. So what God did, he let them put him in the pit. And just as they got in the pit, he let a caravan be coming right along, pull him out the pit, and put him in Potiphar's house. You've got to help me, saints. God did not tell that woman to rape Joseph. But he knew she would. Now let me go on record as saying the first sexual harassment on a job was not by a man harassing a woman, but a woman harassing a man. Help me, Holy Ghost. God didn't tell her to do that, but he knew he would. And he knew that Potiphar's house would lead to Joseph being put in prison, which would result in him becoming the first Jewish governor of Egypt. Please observe with me. God allowed the devil to put him in a pit. God allowed the devil to chase him in Potiphar's house. God allowed the devil to put him in jail. And all God did was manipulate the timeline. The devil may do a whole lot of stuff, but he got to get God's permission as to when he's going to do it. And we hear Joseph saying to his family, you intended evil, but God manipulated it. Help me, Holy Ghost. Let's go a little further. God did not tell Pharaoh to murder those babies, but he knew he would. So just as he made the decision to murder the babies, God let Pharaoh's daughter feel dirty, who was also barren. And then he allowed the mother to put the baby in the water. Let a little breeze hit it. Y'all don't hear me. Now, let me give you a glimpse, and I'm too unwise to talk about the majesty of God, but you got to see his strategy. God knew 100 years before Israel knew it that they would need a deliverer. Wait a minute. God knew in 100 years they would need a deliverer who was a Jew with a PhD in Egyptian law with wilderness experience. God prearranged that in 1913 a little stubborn baby would be born named Rosa. And in 1929 a preacher's son would be born named Martin. Are y'all hearing me? And they would both end up in Selma in 1955. And they would kick off a civil rights movement that cleaned up segregation and eventually led to the first black president. What I'm trying to tell you is God is not dead. God is behind the scene. He's manipulating. He ain't going nowhere. It don't matter that you can't see him. When my daughter was 10 years old and my son was 7, they would worry me about going to the store by themselves. Detroit is a rough city, so we would never let them go anywhere by themselves. They just said, Daddy, please let us go. Everybody else going. We don't need you. Let us go by ourselves. I said, all right, I'm tired of you worrying me. I said, you can go by yourself, but you got to go a certain route. That's a sermon there. Yes, it is. I said, you got to go a certain route for the Detroit people. I said, go down Cousins to McNichols, make a right, go over to Ward, and come back. Oh, they took off, Mother Rivers. We are going to the store by ourselves. What they didn't know, they went out the front door, but I went out the back door. Help me, Holy Ghost. And they were just strutting, but I was hiding behind bushes. Because in Detroit, they have parallel alleys to the street. And so they went on to the store, got their candy, got over there and turned around, was on their way back home. Just as they turned around, coming toward home, this big, ugly dog. I don't mean to offend any pet owners, but this dog was ugly. This big dog. Looked like he was pit, bull, rottweiler, lassie, all mixed up together. And he come walking toward my children. My son and daughter, they were only 10 and 7. They stopped like a statue. And they were just shaking. The dog sensed their feet and kept coming toward them until I walked up. I had a stick in my hand.